Thank you so much, everybody. It's so good to see everyone's faces. So quick show of hands, really quick. How many of you are in the Pacific Northwest and got affected by that windstorm? Yeah, it was wild. Okay, well, the rest of you don't know what we're talking about then, but for those of you in the greater Seattle area in Kitsap County, we had quite a windstorm. And so that was exciting. And I'm so glad that we're all able to be back on track and on schedule today. So we're going to go over inspiratory muscle training. We're going to talk about respiratory muscle training today. So last week we talked about, or we went through the exercises for LSVT and speak out very cursorily. So we went through them and we talked a little bit about the differences between different voice treatment programs to help keep volume and clarity in your speech up. And we talked about how those exercises are daily exercises that you do for the whole rest of your life in order to help maintain great communication with other people. Now, those programs are excellent at maintaining your abilities to communicate effectively with other people when you do them. However, sometimes it is helpful to do a little extra work on respiratory muscle strength. So when we talk about your respiratory muscles, we're talking about your diaphragm strength, and there are little muscles in between your ribs called your intercostals. And when you, when you have a neurologic condition, staying strong everywhere in your body becomes a thing. It's a job. And so this is another group of muscles that are important to maintain your strength on. I'm going to share some of my slides with you because I think picture is worth 1,000 words. Let me see if I can go here to share. Yeah. Okay. And then these are my slides. There you go. So today we're going to be talking about sometimes even when you do all of your voice exercises for speak out or for LSVT, even when you're doing those exercises, it can be helpful to do a few extra things to boost your volume and to maintain your strength. There is a huge body of research behind inspiratory and expiratory muscle strength training. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today is how do you use an inspiratory or expiratory muscle strength trainer and kind of how are they different? When it comes to producing volume for speech, I have people use an inspiratory muscle trainer. And when we're looking at, we also use these devices to help protect your airway for swallowing as well. And so we're not going to talk about swallowing today, but generally expiratory muscle strength training is the thing to do to protect your lungs from aspiration or airway penetration related to swallowing. And I can talk about that later when we hit swallowing. But for now, we're going to focus on inspiratory muscle strength training because that is the device that is the most effective at helping with volume. And then also, I will attach some of the research related to inspiratory muscle strength training for you. But in addition to this, when we talk about progressive neurologic conditions, like there's the treatment of that too. Unfortunately, most of us have also lived really full lives and we don't always just have that going on, right? So sometimes people that I work with also have conditions like asthma or COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So those respiratory conditions can make breathing and getting a good breath even more complicated than, you know, if you just have a neurologic condition on its own. So when we have any degree of medical complexity involved, it becomes really important to look at the whole person and to do extra things to help with strength. So this is an inspiratory muscle trainer and also a PEP device, which is a positive expiratory pressure device. So this device is called a Big Breathe. And some of the goals of, there are lots of different devices on the market that will help with inspiratory and expiratory muscle training. Many devices do both. And when it comes to folks who have neurologic conditions, I generally recommend you get one device that does everything, because it's almost certain that you're going to have difficulties with swallowing as well as with volume for communicating. So, you know, if you're going to buy a device, you might as well just buy one that can handle both. So this device is called a Big Breathe. On the next slide, I'll show you a few other options. And I don't get a kickback from any of these companies. They're just products that I found have been very effective in working with the clients that we work with. The goal of inspiratory muscle training is to increase lung capacity. I should get my spotlight out. Increase lung capacity. So if you're doing these exercises correctly, your ability to take air into your lungs will go up. And this is really helpful for people who have extra complications going on besides just their neurologic condition. So if you have asthma or any type of a pulmonary condition, increasing your lung capacity makes everything easier. It makes it easier to walk up the stairs. It makes it easier to stand up from your chair. It makes it easier to talk. Everything is easier when you can get more air into your lungs. So this is very, very helpful. Also, it can prevent pulmonary complications. So when you're able to get more air into your lungs, if you have a situation, I guess one of the primary pulmonary complications that we run into related to progressive neurologic conditions is aspiration and aspiration pneumonia. So the research behind these devices is that they're hugely helpful in preventing pneumonia, or if you have pneumonia, it can help clear it up and prevent you from getting it again. So using a device like this is very protective to your overall health, and it also is protective to your ability to continue to have good volume for speaking and communicating. And then another benefit of an inspiratory muscle trainer is that it increases the thickness of your diaphragm. So your diaphragm is essentially a muscle that sits just underneath your lungs and your rib cage. And it's kind of situated in between your stomach is right underneath it, and your lungs are right on top of it. So when your diaphragm contracts, pushes your lungs up, and they fill with air. And then when it relaxes, it's kind of sitting there in like a relaxed fashion. So this is relaxed and expanded, right? So it's a muscle. And when you do these exercises, you beef that muscle up. Just like if you were doing like a bench press, and you can build up your pec muscles. Or if you were doing, curls with your arm, you can build up your bicep muscles. These inspiratory muscle training devices beef up your diaphragm muscle, make it literally gets thicker and stronger, which is helpful for breathing. And then another benefit of these exercises when you're doing them correctly is that it can improve the base, your pelvic base muscle strength too. So all of these muscles, when you're really breathing correctly, you're using your low abdominal muscles to support your best quality voice. That's something that doesn't often get talked about, but it's true that when you are using your best quality voice, you're using your low abdominal muscles. And when you're using a tool like this to work on breathing, you're strengthening those pelvic base muscles. Now, the reason why that is important it's not just important for volume, but it's important for maintaining range of motion in your pitch. So pitch range. So that, remember that one of the things that we are fighting against with a neurologic condition is that monotone voice that sets in, where you get reduced range of motion and people have a hard time understanding the inflection in your voice. So in order to prevent that monotony from setting into your voice, we want to have good pitch range. That's why we do pitch glides up and pitch glides down, because it stretches and contracts your vocal cords. Well, when you're at your very lowest pitch, you actually need to use your low abdominal muscles to support a high quality voice. You actually use the muscles in your core to support good airflow and a forward resonant voice. So these inspiratory muscle trainers are very helpful tools at improving your strength here. So it will help with range of motion so that your voice has inflection in it and it's interesting to listen to. It doesn't sound like you're bored all the time. And it increases your diaphragm strength, can prevent pneumonia or other pulmonary complications. And it obviously increases your lung capacity. So lots of benefits to inspiratory muscle training. If I can go to my next page. What's happening? So there are lots of different tools available for inspiratory muscle strength training. Okay. This device over here, there are lots of devices that I like to recommend to people. And generally these are kind of my favorite device on here is actually this one in the middle called the Big Breathe. I used to recommend, so this device that I'm holding right now in front of me is called a Philips Respironics Inspiratory Muscle Trainer. It only does inspiratory muscle training. They don't make these anymore. They're out of stock. You can't get them. The next closest device to it is the Big Breathe. And it's actually a better device because it has that positive expiratory pressure side in addition to the inspiratory muscle training side. So you can do both inspiratory muscle training and expiratory muscle training with one device using the Big Breathe. So I love that device. It's also, it measures resistance in cc's of water pressure. So I should have made a slide for this. The original inspiratory muscle training device was created by putting a straw into a certain depth of water pressure. And the further down in the water that the straw was, the greater resistance was needed for blowing. And so it forced people using the blowing into the water to get increasing amounts of effort in order to be successful. And so, blowing into water, I don't know if any of you have blown, just raise your hand for fun. Who's blown a straw into water, right? What happens, Kieran? What happens when you blow into liquid?
The liquid starts to bubble.
It bubbles. And where does it go?
It doesn't go anywhere.
It just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously blowing into water is a great way to create resistance for your lungs to work against, but it's pretty messy. So these devices were created as a better option than that, but they are still measured in cc's of H2O. So they're measured in depth. The resistance weight is measured in depth of water pressure. So I like these devices better than the Tilcare and the breather because you can increase the resistance level up to 40 cc's of pressure, which is a greater amount than, I don't exactly know what the highest pressure rating is on the breather or the Tilcare device. These also do both, the Tilcare and the breather both do inspiratory muscle training and expiratory muscle training. So they provide resistance that you blow against or inhale against as you're breathing in and out through the device. And you adjust it, there's these little dials on the side that you use to adjust it. Well, the Tilcare and the breather only have, the resistance levels are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all the resistance you get. But on the big breathe, the reason why I like it better is because it's closer to the original inspiratory muscle trainers, and because it's measured in cc's of water pressure, and you can adjust the exact resistance level a little bit more specifically. So I'm a nerdy person. I really like being able to specifically adjust the pressure and know the specific resistance level that a person is able to work against. And I found that when my clients are consistently using this device and they're able to get the resistance level up to 40 cc's of pressure, their inspiratory volume is really good. And they often will come back to me and say, wow, you know what? I can walk up that really big hill in front of my house and I don't get winded anymore. Or they'll say, wow, do you know I walked 150 feet yesterday and normally I could only go 50 because they've been using this device. And so when your respiratory capacity goes up, it improves your cardio ability too, right? It's like everything. So these are different devices out there. Obviously, I told you what my favorite one was and why, but all of these devices are helpful and beneficial. Raise your hand if you own one of these right now. Perfect. I love you, Ellen. Look at that. Good. Let me just see. I can't see everybody. Does anyone else? Oh yeah, Dan, good. Richard, good. Who else has one of these? Okay, Donna, Fran, excellent. I love that. And so how many of you are using this on a daily basis now, for those of you who have it? Raise your hand if you're using it every single day. Okay, well, good. That's another argument for getting a cheerleader on board to help you do these things every single day. Maybe we got to get the grandkids involved. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So let me go to my next slide here. Okay, so this is a really important tool for your overall health because it adds so much to not just speech, but it's preventative for swallowing, it's preventative for cardio health. It just does so much for you. So if you don't have a device like this, you can go to Amazon and you can type in IMST device, or you could type in Big Breathe, or you could type in Tilcare, or you could type in the breather, and you'll find these devices. You should definitely order one. Wherever you are living, I don't care what state you're in, if you have a neurologic condition, you should have one of these. It will really help you so much. So when you get it, if you haven't already set it up, these devices need to be set up for success. Now, typically, when I have a new client that gets one of these, I will set the resistance to the least amount of resistance. And then I have the person breathe in and out through the device for 5 minutes, at least once a day. But if you can do it 3 times a day, that's what the A students do. So yeah. So on the big breathe, there's like and also this Phillips inspiratory muscle trainer. There's a red line that indicates what resistance level you're at, and you change the line by just twisting. So on the big breathe, you'll twist in the middle of the device, but you just twist the device to change the resistance level to where you want it to be. You can make it easier or you can make it harder by twisting it. And normally you want to start, when you get this device, it might be pretty hard to use in the beginning. So you want to put it at the least resistance. And then after you do it every single day or multiple times a day for a week, then you'll just slowly increase it by like 2 cc's of pressure every week and slowly increase your strength that way. On the Tilcare or the Big Breathe device, there's just that little dial on the side. So you would start out at number 1 on each side, and you'll inhale and exhale through the device for like 5 minutes. So it's not really rocket science. Does anyone have questions about how you might set up your device? Everybody's good? Okay, good. I put a question in the chat. Oh, Linda, you have a question. You can unmute yourself if you want to just talk to the group. No. We can't hear you because you're muted. You can unmute yourself.
Can you tell me what one of these things costs?
Oh, how much do they cost? Great question.
Yeah.
Oh, medical devices. You know, in the beginning, I was able to find the Big Breathe online for like $30 to $35 per unit, per thing. And then I think it's possible that I personally just bought so many of them that they jacked the prices up. Now when I look for them online on Amazon, they're like $45 per device. The breather, the device, the cost of the breather is now about $50. And the Tilcare device, the reason why I put the Tilcare device on here, because I was able to find that one online for like $30 to $35 too. So they will range, if you can find them on sale for like, you know, on the less expensive end for $30 to $35, or you can, if they're not on sale, they'll be upwards to $50. And so hopefully, you know, the manufacturers of Big Breathe, Tilcare, and the breather are not watching this right now, because otherwise they'll probably raise the rates up. But I just like to shop on the internet and find the best deal, which different sites sometimes will have a better deal for those, but it should be in that range. And look, honestly, $50 might seem like a big investment, but if you think about the value of your health and the value of your communication with people around you, that's a drop in the bucket. So, like if there is one piece of medical equipment that you would invest in, this would be such a good choice, because it has a global effect on communication, swallowing, movement.
Thank you.
All the things. You're welcome.
May
Okay.
I add something too? I was one of the people who raised their hands that I had the device, but I realized mine is only an inhaler, not inhale and exhale. You know, it has the little ball that goes up as you breathe in, and so not as beneficial. How much help does it help the body to add the device with the exhaler too?
Yeah, so wonderful question. I'm so glad you asked that, Fran. Two things. One, the little device with the ball that goes up and down, that is a spirometer. And that is different from an inspiratory muscle training device because the spirometer, it helps you to breathe deeply, but it doesn't provide resistance that you have to work against. So while deep breathing is very good for your health, and it is very important, it's a slightly different outcome than one of these devices that provides resistance. So it's like the difference between doing isometric exercises where you are just doing yoga, just stretching your body, versus doing weight training where you're picking up heavy things and building muscle. That's kind of the difference between a spirometer is more like yoga and an inspiratory muscle trainer is more like weight training where you're picking up heavy things and you're building muscle. So that's why this would be helpful. And also the inspiratory muscle trainer, which is what we're focusing on today for your voice. Inspiratory muscle training helps with volume and voice output, okay? It makes it easier to get that volume and that voice output with less effort. The expiratory muscle training protects your airway from penetration of foreign particles when you're eating or drinking. So it gives you a little more oomph to like blow something out of your airway that has gone down the wrong pipe when you're eating or drinking. You know, like you're sometimes eating or drinking, you start coughing. When you're doing
which devices?
So all of the devices that I showed you on my slides do both inspiratory, the Tilcare, and the Big Breathe, and the breather. They all do both inspiratory and expiratory muscle training. And I intentionally only put products in this presentation that do both, because whenever I'm working with a client who has a progressive neurologic condition, it's beneficial for you to do both. And I would recommend you do both, honestly, because it takes the same amount of time and you'll get just double the benefit out of it with a different device. Did I answer your question?
Oh, exactly, which means exactly I'm going to switch my device now, because why spend the 5 minutes and only get one benefit versus two, or get only a stretch versus resistance? So thank you for allowing the time element for the question.
Oh, totally. I'm always happy to do that. That's why we're here, right? Here to connect.
And this is $46 on Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these devices, like I said, you can find them on sale. And actually, look, next week or Thanksgiving, I bet there's a Black Friday sale coming up. I bet if you look and are kind of patient for 7 days, I bet you could find a good deal on one of these if it's important to you. If not, just get the device. So that's good timing, actually. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about how to use this device now. And we're going to talk about what good breathing actually looks like. So for those of you that actually have a device with you, you want to breathe along with me, that's awesome. We can do it together. And if you don't have one, just know that you'll be able to watch this recording again later, and we can go through what good breathing looks like. So when you're breathing, one of the breathing patterns that as a speech language pathologist I always look for is, are people are they taking belly breaths and really working their diaphragm, like breathing down into their stomach and really expanding the rib cage? Or is it more of a shallow, chesty breath? So when I have people in my office for therapy, I have them bring their breathing device and I say, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes and I'm going to watch you breathe. And what I'm looking for is the best breathing pattern, because I want to make sure that when they're doing their exercises, that they're actually exercising the correct muscle groups. This is a little bit of a tangent, but when I was a child, I took piano lessons. And my piano teacher used to say, only perfect practice makes perfect. So if you practice the physical movement the wrong way, you get the wrong outcome. And so when I am working with people, I want to make sure they're getting the right outcome by exercising the right muscle groups. So when you're breathing, you want to make sure that your head, neck, and shoulders are relaxed, and that your each breath results in a movement in your belly where your ribs and your stomach expand and your chest is relaxed. So I'll show you. I'm gonna stop sharing for 1 second so you can see me real big. So when you are breathing, this is the wrong thing to do, would be like, because you can see there's tension in my shoulders and my neck. You can see my chest comes up when I breathe like that. Or this would be the wrong way to breathe, because I'm bringing tension into my neck. So I want that part to remain relaxed and easy. And when let me see if I can show you my tummy too. When I'm breathing, what I'm looking for, honestly, I don't know if I can do this, guys. When you're breathing, you want to see this part. Oh, it disappeared. When you're breathing, you want to see expansion in your tummy down here, and also in your ribs along the side. You want to see expansion all the way around your rib cage. So you can see my ribs all the way around my body expanded up and outward. And I'll breathe in again. So you can see that I'm getting 360 degrees all the way around my body, expansion of my ribs. When I breathe in, my head, neck, and shoulders are relaxed. And so that's what we're trying to create when you breathe. And that's how you know you're in the right muscle groups. Does anyone have a question about that or would like to see that again? Okay, good. Just check. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen with everyone. So, and then I will show you how you breathe with this. Okay, so when you're breathing, you want to make sure you're breathing deep into your belly, resulting in a tummy movement and rib expansion, right? So breathing down, not up into your shoulders. You don't actually have air pockets in your shoulders, so it's not helpful. And then also you want a good breath will result in 360-degree rib expansion. You'll feel even in your back, your ribs, they'll go up and out in all directions when you're breathing correctly. And then the third thing that is going to happen is you'll expand underneath your ribs. So in this slide, it says under your ribs. I find that most people relate to like your belly gets bigger. You know, you feel that expansion in your low abdomen and your tummy, right? When you're really breathing correctly. So that's what we're looking for. And then the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to stop sharing again, and I'm just going to demonstrate using my inspiratory muscle trainer how how to use them, right? Kieran, you wanted to see how to do it? This is how you do it. So this is not a big breathe, but it's an inspiratory muscle trainer, but you'll use the big breathe or the tilt care device in the exact same way. So you'll adjust the resistance level to whatever it needs to be. Then you put the device in your mouth and you're gonna breathe, focusing on your good breathing patterns. You're just gonna set a timer and do that for like 5 minutes. Now, I'm gonna show you what will happen if the resistance level is too hard for you. Okay, so sometimes people, as you start making progress, start to get a little bit further along, you can actually hit the place where it's too hard, right? And then this is what's going to happen if the resistance level is set too hard. It'll sound like this. Oh, I didn't set it hard enough. Let me try that again. This is what's going to happen if it's too hard. Can you hear how I'm having a hard time getting an easy breath in there? The device starts to bark at me and it's really hard. Even when I sit up tall, I can't quite. It's really hard. So that's an indicator that you need to drop that resistance level back down to a place where you were successful. And you want to stay at that place for like a week and really do your exercises at that level so that you can build back up your voice. So you can hear a real difference between when the resistance level's too great and when it's just right. So the breathing pattern will be nice and smooth when the resistance level is just right. And if we've kind of tried a little too hard, then it'll start barking at you. It'll be kind of hard. Does anyone have questions about how to adjust the resistance level or set the resistance level or no? 5 minutes. I honestly, if you did it 5 minutes, 3 times a day, it's a really good idea to do that. I know many of you don't actually eat 3 meals a day, but if you did eat 3 meals a day and you did it for 5 minutes before you ate each meal, that would be a very smart thing to do, especially if you're using a device that has expiratory muscle strength training involved too. I anticipate that we're going to do a series on swallowing and what you can do for swallowing, and I'll definitely elaborate more on expiratory muscle strength training for swallowing protection then. But if you did it like for 5 minutes before you ate each meal, that would be very smart. It would help protect your airway during your meals and then help prevent any kind of aspiration or penetration then. And then also it will give you that regular training. So to increase your inspiratory muscle strength training or your inspiratory muscles for talking, so that when you're communicating with people, your volume is good. The tilt care device. Oh, yeah. So just remember too, when you're looking online, their pounds and their dollars. Just make sure that usually a pound, depending on the conversion rate, can be 1.5 or 2 times what the dollar is. Just make sure that you're comparing apples to apples on those whenever you're searching online. You're getting your stuff. Honestly, going through Amazon's not a bad idea because they have free shipping, and it'll be the right currency. you don't run into trouble with that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to my slides. So really quick review for everyone. When you are doing these exercises, you need to do them every single day for the rest of your life. I have said that at every single one of these presentations. You know, we're fighting a thing. It needs to be part of your daily hygiene, like brushing your teeth, like taking, putting on deodorant. Daily exercises need to be part of your daily routine. And all of these things are part of your lifelong commitment to being strong and healthy. It's not something where you just do it once and then you're strong. This is something where you're going to build up your strength, and then you're going to maintain your strength by continuing to do it at that optimum resistance level every single day for the rest of your life, right? Just like you eat food every single day, you're going to do your exercises every single day, because that is what will help you to have the communication that you want with other people and help prevent a decline in your condition. So our goal, any therapist that you talk to, their goal is to keep you living your best life possible for as long as possible, and keep you in the game doing all the things that you love to do. So that is what we always try to do for our clients, is just keep them doing all the things that they love to do for as long as they can, and figuring out creative ways to make that happen for people. If you find that you are not succeeding with daily exercises, that is a really good time to get other people involved, either a friend, a family member, a cousin, a high school kid that comes and visits you every day and does your inspiratory muscle training exercises with you. Whatever you need to do to make that go right, put that in, because you want to live your best life, and you can. You don't have to, you know, run into trouble there. Does anyone have any other questions about inspiratory muscle training, or how to do it, or what it looks like?
Not really.
Wonderful. Raise your hand if this was new information for you today. Cool.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I've got a device that the device that my speech therapist gave me was different than what you gave. I can't remember the name of it, but it had a funky name. What I ended up getting was this thing called an Expandalone.
Expandalone?
I assume it's inspiration only.
Oh, yes. Yep, that is inspiration only. And
Okay.
actually, like I said, if you only have an inspiratory muscle trainer or only have an expiratory muscle trainer, it's not wrong. It's just inspiratory muscle training helps with speech output. It helps with volume for talking. It helps with increasing your cardio health for movement and make it easier to stand up and sit down and walk around the room. That's what inspiratory muscle training do for you. If you have like any type of a pulmonary condition, asthma, COPD, weird, and you know, any type of pleurisy, like inspiratory muscle training, emphysema, people with emphysema, inspiratory muscle training, very, very helpful, because it'll just increase your respiratory capacity and makes everything easier. So the device you have, Dan, just if you have it, use it. So that's a great device to use, and you'll get a lot of benefit out of using it. The reason why I recommend both inspiratory and expiratory muscle training for people who have Parkinson disease, especially, or any neurologic condition like that, is because there's a component of airway protection that's important for swallowing when you do expiratory muscle training. And so in my head, you get more bang for your buck when you have a device that does both.
And the name brand of the one you recommend is the Big Breath.
Yeah, Big Breathe. I like that one a lot.
Okay,
They
thank
don't
you.
even pay me to say that, you guys. I don't even get paid to say that. But I do really like that device. That's probably my favorite one because you can adjust the resistance greater than on the other devices. You have a little more control over what you're doing there. And if you breathe in and out through it, you'll get both inspiratory and expiratory muscle training resistance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did anybody else have any other questions about how we do it, why we do it? All right, cool. So one more time, raise your hand if this was new information for you today. Awesome. Really, I'm so glad that I got this opportunity to share this with you because this is such valuable stuff. And then if you have any questions about it, or if you get a device and you need some help setting it up, please do not hesitate to reach out to my office or to me, and we're happy to get somebody to just talk you through the setup process. Or sometimes when we do these things online, it seems so clear, and then like a week later you get the thing in the mail and you're like, I don't remember anything. That's fine. Just call us, and we're like, it brings us so much joy to be able to help you. So please let
I have
us.
a question.
Yes.
So, can we do this while we're out on our walks?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, provided you feel comfortable walking around with something and just breathing. What I recommend to most people is that they do it while they're sitting at home in a chair. You can sit up tall. Sometimes actually standing up and doing it is really more effective because it naturally recruits more low abdominal, like pelvic floor support while you're breathing, which is very helpful. Yeah, doing it in a standing position is smart because if you're able to do that, that's very smart. But you could do it laying down on your back while you're in your bed, or you could do it sitting up in a chair. Doesn't really matter. As long as you're doing it in a way where you're safe and you're not going to fall down, that is fine. Yeah, any of those things. Okay, any other questions? Beautiful. I have enjoyed visiting with you guys so much. What a tremendous group of people you are. And I'm totally here for you. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Jennifer is so happy because it's now less than 60 minutes and I'm actually wrapping up. Are you totally proud of me, Jen?
I'm very proud of you.
I did it. I worked so hard on that.
No, I don't mind going long. The beauty of virtual meetings is if people have someplace to go, they can just click end and don't have to disturb anybody walking out of the room. So we're good with that. So Jessica just flashed up her contact information, and I promise you're going to get an email. It is going to have the recording from week 3. It's going to have the recording from this week. And any other resources that might be helpful to you. The email is also going to have a link to a survey in it. I'm putting my hands together. I'm doing my best begging and praying. Please take a moment to answer that survey. It really does help us in finding out what we did really well, finding out what didn't work really well, how this whole thing is working, because so far, this Beyond Medication series, I think has struck a chord with a lot of people from reading the survey feedback. And we are going to continue it into 2025. I just talked to a neuropsychologist who's going to do a whole series on cognitive fitness. She is so excited about it. We will probably be bringing back Heidi, who is the occupational therapist. Actually, we are bringing her back. She's going to do a caregiver series specifically on mobility and transfers and staying safe for people who need extra assistance as Parkinson's advances. So she's going to be doing that. I think Jessica might be back to do some swallowing stuff. So we're really working on things, and we take your suggestions very seriously in that survey. So please definitely give us some feedback. So I'm going to stop the recording.